Math 2, Unit 4.4. We're talking about mid-segments and altitudes today. Okay? So on page 223, we are going to be talking about medians to start with. Okay, so if you read through there, the medians of a triangle are concurrent at a point that is 2/3 the distance from each vertex to the midpoint on the opposite side. Okay, so in order for something to be a median, there's two things that have to happen, and I think this is important. So you're going to want to write this down. So a median has to go through a vertex and make two equal segments. Okay? And so that is what makes a median. If it doesn't go through a vertex, even though it's like cutting something in half, it's not a median. Okay? That's basically the big idea. The other thing is that, do you see how there's like a longer piece and then a shorter piece? Yes? Okay, so the longer piece, so like right here, this DC from D to C, it's 2/3 of DJ. And we're going to practice with this. Or what I wanted to also say is that CJ is equal to 1/3 of DJ. So if you take the whole line segment, so like if I said the whole segment was 12, if DJ is 12, okay, in order to find what CJ is, I would take 12 and multiply it by 1/3. And when I do that, I'd end up that it is 4. 12 times 1/3 is 4. Okay, and we'll practice it here in just a minute. So it's important for you to know the 2/3 and the 1/3. Okay, so we're going to put this into use now. Go turn to page 224. First of all, we can tell that these are medians because it's going through a vertex, so like Y is a vertex, and then it's cutting the other side in half, so you see how it has two equal segments. So each of these lines are medians, okay? Now it tells you that ZA, so this is ZA right here, okay? That is 9. Now ZA, do you think that's the 1/3 segment or the 2/3? Okay, so how you would write this equation is that 9 equals 2/3 of the whole segment. Okay, and the whole segment is what? Okay, ZC. Now you could write this as ZC, or if you just want to do X, you could do X and you're solving for ZC. It's kind of up to you. So how would I get rid of that 2/3? What would I need to do? Multiply by the okay, we can multiply by 3 to both sides. We can start by doing that. Okay, so when I do that, the 3's cancel, and I have 27 equals 2ZC. ZC is still not by itself, so what would you do next? Very good. Divide by 2. And so we get that ZC equals, and instead of having it as 27/2, I'd probably type it into my calculator and get the decimal, and it ends up being 13.5. And if you want a calculator for going through part of this lesson, it makes some of it a little easier. So if you have one, you can take it out, or you can borrow one from me. Okay, so I just want us to talk again about setting up the equation. So looking at what's in red here, okay? So again, if you guys can focus, please, this is important and like one of the main ideas of this lesson, and it's going to come up on the quiz that you're going to take today. Okay? ZA, right here, they told you is 9. Well, we know that this ZA, this portion, is 2/3 of the whole line. So that's why I can write 2/3 times ZC will give me the answer of 9. And then when we multiply and get rid of everything so that ZC is by itself, that tells me the length of the entire line. So let's say now that I wanted to know how much just AC is. Okay, now this wasn't part of the question, but if you wanted to find AC, we know that AC is how much? 1/3. And so what you would do is you'd go 1/3 times 13.5. Do you know how to put that in your calculator? Another thing you could think of too is that when you have fractions, you're multiplying. So it's really 13.5 divided by 3. Or you could have typed in 1 divided by 3 and then multiply it by 13.5. But so what answer would I end up getting for AC? 4.5. Now, a way to like double check that you've done things correctly is that the 2/3 portion, which we know is 9, and the 1/3 portion, which is 4.5, these two should add to equal the whole line. And is 9 plus 4.5 13.5? Yeah. And again, you could double check in your calculator. You don't even have to do any work. You can just type them in, make sure that they equal each other, and they do. So I know that I did get the correct number here for ZC. Okay. Part B says reasoning. What is the ratio of ZA to AC? So let's go ahead and just write some of this out. Okay, so we know that ZA equals 2/3. Okay, so I'm going to write this as 2/3 of, what's the whole line? How would we label the whole line? CZ. Good. We know that AC equals how much? 1/3 of the whole line, which is CZ. Okay? So, what that means, if we are comparing the two, okay, if we are taking ZA compared, normally you do the colon like that, like it's a ratio, ZA to AC, it is really 2/3 to 1/3. Can see how these are here? And then you can actually take away, since they both have the same denominator, it is really 2 to 1. That means if I know what AC is, if I just double AC, I can get the answer for the second portion. So if you type in your calculator 4.5 times 2, or 4.5 plus 4.5, what does that equal? 9. Okay, if you take 9 and you divide that by 2, you get 4.5. And so they are showing you that these portions, one of the sides is 2 and one is 1. So if you have one portion, you can find a lot of information. Do you guys get that? But if you just want to remember the 2/3 and 1/3, that also works. Okay, we are now going to move on to page 224. Or, just kidding, we're already on page 224. Thank you. Okay. So let's see what you can do, okay? I'm going to kind of start you with this, but I want to see if you can find the answer. So YU. So here is YU. They are telling you that that equals 3.6. Okay? What would you need to do in order to find what ZY is? And there's multiple ways of solving this. So I'm going to kind of leave you alone there, and ultimately you want to find ZY, and then after you have ZY, then you can find the whole line, which is ZU. Okay? In fact, I'm going to give out candies for the first few that get this one right. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. I'm going to check you guys first. They were at first, but they missed it on the up to you. Did you get the same thing? Perfect. Oh, you did not. Okay, hold on. Good. Sure.
I'm honestly scared.
So I'm gonna.
He wants it.
So you guys are setting up. So this one's just.
Okay, so I need all.
So we know that it's 3.6. And so
Because I played D1, and then you'll play.
so they're saying that this
Whenever I said like, so it's a big difference. Because I was on kickoff, but they got freaking all right on. Anyways, Bubba was running. I didn't see him. I looked over, I saw him. And he started helping. He didn't have to. Bubba. Yeah, we didn't have Bubba. We didn't have Cole Roberts. We didn't use Tanner. They didn't see her floor. They saw like half of it.
Okay, let me go through this. Even if you got the answer right, please be quiet and kind of pay attention. Not kind of, pay attention. Okay, so YU equals 3.6. So this part of the line is 3.6. The way you got that answer, the way they got that answer, is they knew that 3.6 equals 2/3 of the entire line. So your equation is using the whole line. And so we can label that as UZ, or they put it as ZU, so I'll write that as ZU. Okay, now in order to get rid of the 2/3, we found that we multiply by 3 to both sides, correct? So this cancels. 3 times 3.6 made 10.8 equals 2 ZU. And then in order to get ZU by itself, I still need to divide by 2. Okay? And so ZU equals 10.8. That means this whole line here is 10.8. Once you have the whole line, yes, 5.4 is what I meant. Sorry. Thank you. 10.8 divided by 2 is 5.4. Are we all good there? Sorry. Okay, so once we have what the whole line is, your two options are, since I know this is 2/3, I can go 5.4 minus the 3.6 equals 1.8. And so my missing piece, YZ, is 1.8. Yeah. Yes. The other thing I'm going to say before what Micah said is that you could take your whole line 5.4 and multiply it by 1/3, and that would also give you the 1.8. Now, Micah is using his knowledge that we just went through and found the ratio is 2:1, right? So if you know that this is 3.6, that's your 2 part. In order to find your 1 part, you can just take 3.6 and divide that by 2 to get the 1.8. And those two add together to give you your 5.4. So you can use your ratio of 2:1 or your 1/3 and 2/3. What do you guys think? Did one of the ways make sense? Because basically, whichever way makes sense to you, do it that way, because you don't need to know how to do it all 5 different ways or 3 different ways. Okay, just one way. So let's look at this next one. So we have the same figure. If you already did it, how many of you already did this one?
I did, but I messed up.
Okay, VY, the answer is 6, and YX is 3. Okay, so let's go through this together. Okay, so VX. Do you guys see the whole, VX is the whole line. Do you guys see that right there? Okay, so they're saying the whole line is 9. So now they want to find, well, what is VY and what is YX? So VY is 2/3 times 9. Okay? Then you didn't multiply correctly. So if you notice on this, you can use your calculator, or I can put this over 1 and see how I can cross reduce. 3 goes into 9 3 times, and so I have 2 times 3, which is 6. Okay, at this point, since I know the whole line is 9, I can go 9 minus 6, which is 3 for the missing part. Or, let's just show you the other way. So if you have YX, I know YX is 1/3 times 9, or 9 over 1. And we can reduce. 3 goes into 9 3 times. And 1 times 3 is 3. So yx equals 3. And do both of those add to be 9, which is the whole line? Yes. Okay? Do you guys have questions on that? Yes.
Is there another way to do that?
To do that one? Yes. This is what you could do. A different way would be, so you know the whole line is, they said the whole thing is 9, right? I'm just kind of drawing this line. It's a different direction, but X and B. So you know how you have your like 1/3 and then your 2/3? So we know that this is one part and this is two parts. This is 1x and this is 2x. So 3x equals 9. Divide by 3 and you get x equals 3. So that means my 1/3 part is 3 and then my 2/3 part is 2 times 3, which is 6. That was easier? Okay. Do you guys have other questions or you want me to re-explain something on that? Josh, does this make more sense? Okay. All right. For some reason, I guess, this isn't in your book exactly, but if you look at the top of page 225, it's talking about the altitude in a triangle. Do you guys see that definition up there? Okay, so an altitude of a triangle is the perpendicular segment from a vertex of the triangle to the containing opposite side. An altitude of a triangle can either be, and this is important, inside or outside or the side of a triangle. Now, what I want you to make a note of is that with altitude, again, it has to go through a vertex and be perpendicular. And perpendicular means that it makes a 90-degree angle. Okay? So if something is an altitude, again, it goes through the vertex and it's perpendicular, which means it makes a 90-degree angle. So see here with an acute triangle, and you don't have these pictures in your book, you might want to write them, or if you don't want to, that's fine. See how this altitude is on the inside? But it goes through a vertex and it makes a 90-degree angle. Bless you. This is also an altitude. Now looking at this, there's actually another altitude they didn't make. Do you know what other altitude is on here? Madison. HG. This is also an altitude because it goes through a vertex and it has a 90-degree angle. Do you guys see that?
Wait, so does that mean XD on another triangle is also an altitude?
No, because it didn't make a 90-degree triangle. I mean, it didn't make a 90-degree angle. It's not perpendicular. So remember, it has to go through a vertex and be a perpendicular line, which means that it makes a 90-degree angle. So where is that perpendicular line that makes a 90-degree angle on the obtuse triangle? Yeah, so right here. So this is the triangle right here. And see how this altitude is on the outside because that's going through the vertex and making a 90-degree angle. Okay, so it's actually outside that triangle. All right, so now we are going to stay on page 225 and do problem number 2. Okay, so A, B, and C. We have a median, an altitude, and neither, and they want us to explain which is which. And it doesn't always work this way, but in this case, all of these are being used. The median, altitude, and neither. So without writing the reason right now, and in your groups, just talk about like what you think is what. Go through A, B, and C and talk about what you think. All right, so if you get the answer wrong, it's okay, but I think you guys are smart, so I'm going to pull some 6. Are we ready? Okay, so we're looking at A. I want to know what it is and why. Okay, so, actually, Christian Drake. What do we think A is? So the line AD, is it a median, neither, or altitude? Very good. And how do you know for sure it is a median? Okay, good. So looking here, AD, he said that it split this side in half. Okay, CD is congruent to DB. Okay, so we have, I'm just going to write split. And a median needs one other thing. And what is that? What's the one other thing it needs, Christian? A what? Besides that, it needs to go through the vertex. Okay? And AD does that. It is split in half, and it goes through the vertex. If it doesn't go through the vertex, it's not a median. Okay? All right, so EG. So here is EG, right there. We want to decide what this is. So I'm going to pull a stick. What is EG? If you're not sure, ask your group members what they think right now. What do you think EG is? Nancy. What do you think EG is? Okay, quiet. Neither is correct. How do you know that it is neither? Well, good. So it cut a side in half, right? But it didn't go through a vertex. So I'm just going to write didn't go through a vertex. So again, we can see that it cut it in half on that side, but because it didn't go through a vertex, it is not classified as a median. All right, the last one, CF. It's a hard one. Sabrina. Good, and how do you know for sure that it is an altitude? Okay, and she knows it's an altitude because it goes through the vertex or a vertex and it's perpendicular, meaning that it makes a 90-degree angle. Okay, if you wrote vertex and 90-degree angle, that also works. Go ahead, Josh. Okay, questions on any of those? Okay, next one. Okay, we are still on page 225. Numbers 3 and 4, same thing. Median, altitude, or neither, and explain why. Okay? I'm going to walk around. Do this one on your own. Oh, and your red segment, sorry, I'll mark this. You guys have the color on your books, but median, altitude, or neither. Yes, but like on 4, they didn't say that there were equal sectors on both sides. Okay. All right, I did not make it around, but I'll take some. Aaron, will you tell me what the answer is to number 3? Very good. And how do you know for sure that it is neither? Very good. Not, we'll do it exactly you said, not touching a vertex. Okay, 4. Josh F., can you tell me what that answer is? And how do you know it's altitude? Okay, again. Okay, so there's going to be 2 things. It has to go through the vertex and also perpendicular, which means it's a 90-degree angle. So it's because it goes through a vertex and is perpendicular. Okay, any questions? All right, turn over to page 226 now. And you guys need to know this. I'd like you to write it somewhere on page 226. But concurrent is when three or more lines intersect at one point, they are concurrent. Okay? So write that down, please. All right, you guys all have that? Okay, the next thing that you have there is we have all the different times that lines are concurrent, and they have special definitions. This is actually going to be on that sheet we're going to fill out in just a few minutes. So, but you have that on page 227. But you can maybe make a note there that you can put it's going to be on your special triangle sheet. Okay? I think that's what it's called. Or special centers. But I'm going to put special triangles sheet. Okay? It'll make more sense. All right, so we're going to do a couple lesson checks here. So, we're on page 227. Number 7. So I'm just going to give you a few, like a minute or less, to decide if it's a median or an altitude. Okay, what do you guys think it is? Very good. It is a median. And again, how do we know that it's a median? Vertex and what else? We'll just put split. That works. We'll make it easy. Vertex and split. Let's just put split in half. Okay, equal segments or congruent segments would be more mathematical, but this will make sense to us. Okay, next one, it says that AP, so we're looking at this line right here. AP is 18. What is KP? So if the whole line is 18, what are you going to do to find KP? Once you get the answer, you can actually show me on your fingers. Yes, 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 yes. Good, good, good. No. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. No. Good. Yeah, if you get it wrong, show me an answer again. You know, see if you can figure it out. There you go. Good. Yes. Okay, so KP, is that the 1/3 or 2/3? The 1/3. Okay, so if you were to just to take 18 and multiply it by 1/3, you end up with 18 divided by 3, which is 6. So that is what KP equals. Okay. Remember, do you want me to show you another way of solving it or no?
Wait, no.
Did you do it like with the x's? So if you're doing with the x's, remember it's like this right here is 2x and this is x. So 3x equals 18. You divide by 3 and x equals 6. So each piece is like 6. So the 1/3 would be 6. The 2/3 would be 12. Because you go 6 times 2. Sorry. that make sense? Yeah? Okay. All right, number 9. Let's see if you guys can redeem yourselves. Except for this one, you can't really show on your fingers, so I think I'll have to walk around. But I'd like everyone to figure out 9. Y is what? Oh, sorry, this is on page 228. So that's the whole line, but they only want K to Q. So what does 15 represent?
Oh shoot.
Right, which is 1/3 or 2/3.
Yeah, I was thinking the whole lines.
2/3. Okay. What?
So that would make
Yes. That is the whole line. Okay, so now you have KQ. Once you have the whole line now, find the 1/3. Because 15 represents not the whole line. It only represents the 2/3 line. Well, you could do 15 times it okay, me personally, I set it up as 15 equals 2/3 X or 2/3 BQ. And then I multiply by 3 and divide by 2. And then that tells me the big line, and then you can either subtract or multiply to get the small line. Does that make sense? So to get rid of this, we started by multiplying by 3.
She probably had to think about it more.
Actually, she's really good. She could be the alphabet product for 15 seconds. She'd be very good. Yeah, like she'll
So that's the whole line. Yeah, so you just feel the whole line.
It's like you get to Z and go Z because he's just like
It's like I just
Okay, did you get 7.5?
well, like how are you supposed to do that?
Did you get 22.5? So you got the whole one. Or they wanted to do the single one. Did you get 7.5? Good. Yes, I actually unless they're optional. Okay, so
Do you know sign language?
what?
Do you know sign language?
A little bit. No. Okay. Where am I at? So they told us, some of you, BK is 15. Okay? So I know that 15 equals 2/3. And what is my whole line? BQ. BQ is my whole line. So this is where some of you messed up. Okay, please be quiet. Shh. So, do we understand why we're putting BQ here? Because 15 represents 2/3 of BQ. It's 2/3 of the whole line. Okay, and then we solve for BQ. We divide by 3. I get 45 equals 2BQ. And then I divide by 2, and that makes 22.5 equals BQ. That is my whole line. But they wanted KQ. So you have an option for finding KQ, and you could just go 22.5 minus 15, and you get 7.5. Okay, that is your answer for KQ. Okay, there was a shortcut though. Okay? And this is the shortcut that Micah was telling us about. If this is a 2-to-1 ratio, okay, if BQ represents the 2, which is 15, you could just take 15 and divide it by 2, and it gives you the 7.5. So that's kind of the shortcut, but if that doesn't make sense, I would just go through this process, okay, each time, because it'll help you. And then you just need to remember, what are you looking at? Are you looking at the whole line or the 2/3 or the 1/3? Okay, do you guys have questions for me? Okay, number 10, which two segments are altitudes? And so you need to decide. There's 2 segments in there that are actual altitudes. Aaron, what's one of them? Very good. AC is an altitude. And again, we know that AC is an altitude because it is perpendicular and going through a vertex. Okay, Stephen, you know another one? You are correct. AB is another altitude, and again, it is perpendicular and it's going through a vertex. Okay, do you guys see it? So here, this one, it makes a 90-degree angle and it's going to the vertex C. 90-degree angle and it's going to the vertex B. All right? Any other questions? Okay, we're going to do one more. Turn to page 228. Oh, just kidding. Stay on 228. Read number 11. I'm turning to page 228. Why do I have? Oh, that's something else. Okay. So read it. Air analysis. Your classmate says she drew HJ as an altitude. Why is she wrong? Holly, why is she wrong? Very good. It didn't go through a vertex.